Welcome back, you good people. Now I know, it's not the usual fast start, but as we approach the beginning of my chat with Marcel, I just wanted to encourage you guys. As the various levels of lockdown draw longer, and most of us embark on our second staycation in 3 months, I just wanted to say that I truly believe that the best is yet to come. And post-COVID, the drinks will be colder, some of your guys' chat will hopefully improve, and we will definitely come out on a more positive note. Hello and how are you, toy sports lovers out there? My name is Robbie Gillette, and welcome to conversation number 9 of the Keeping It Real with Robbie podcast, where we chat all things on the mental side of sport, to stories, laughs and banter. Whether into the old pigskin or the old leather ball, we've got you. Today I'll be chatting to USA Eagles skipper Marcel Brache as he shares openly about his rugby journey and his career thus far. I hope you guys enjoy and let me know what you guys think.
Didn't even need to jump, but that pass almost took out Brache, but the hot stepper, the winger, Brache in open space, look at him go! Marcel Brache puts his head down, Scully's with him, he won't hit him, Brache! Individual, sleek, sensation.
Go the same way, second man's going, a nice inside ball, Michael Brache, looking for a double weapon right winger.
Hi Robbie, how are you, bud?
Good, thanks. Otherwise you well. So I saw it on your Twitter bio and I had to.
Yeah. It gets a lot of confusing questions when people see that Twitter handle, but I think people in the know certainly enjoy it when they see it.
Unreal,
as you've seen.
Unreal.
How are things your side, buddy?
Yeah, good flipping. I'm so excited to be chatting to Ike Tigers, Western Province, the Stormers legend, Western Force veteran, and USA captain. Come on, somebody. How are you?
Jeez, that's a huge G up from you for me before podcast. It's a very complimentary, I must say. Thanks so much, buddy.
All good. But yeah, my first international or person living overseas, 5:00 in Perth, 11 a.m. here.
Yeah.
I am hell of excited.
Yeah. It's you're certainly getting me amped to have a chat. Well, that's for sure.
That's the deal. But speaking of excitement, you guys must be frothing at the Force to get back to Super Rugby. How are the boys feeling? And is there a bit of a thorn in the side of still as to what happened with the exit of Super Rugby, or are the guys over it and just frothing to get out?
Yeah, I think that's a great word to use, Robbie, is frothing. Like we really are excited to just get out and firstly just to get out and play sport again. I think we're in a very, very privileged position here, as you can attest to what's going on back home in South Africa. But, to see sport being playing around the world sort of gives, for a lot of people in the community, especially here in Perth, it gives a lot of people a lot of hope to see sport back on the weekends. And for us, it certainly gives us a lot of purpose as well to be able to go out, and we feel very lucky and very privileged to be able to do what we do firstly, and secondly, in the climate that we're in, to go out and play sport again is just a huge honor. And in a competition that's being built up to be quite exciting, with a couple of innovative changes with the laws, and a couple of things they're doing on with regards to game day experience for when crowds are allowed in. So as a team, we've been going now, this is our 5th week team training, and each week we're just trying to build on the week before. And for us, it's really just an exciting way for us to go out and show the national, the national public what we've been building here in Perth on the West Coast. And for a lot of the young guys and a lot of the Australian guys on the West Coast, to showcase national selectors what they're all about, and to really put their hands up and say, look, as much as there is talent on the east side of Australia, we're not too bad on this side either. So from all those perspectives, it's pretty exciting. And then on to your second question, if there's a thorn in the side, it's from my perspective, no. I think that it certainly will be something that's built up in the media.
Okay.
It'll be something that's talked about for the coming weeks. We've got a bye in the first round, so it'll be hyped up even more come the second week. and with specific sides that we're playing against, it'll be built up to a point where out of our control.
Yeah.
For us, it goes back to the first point I made about the excitement level being like, we just want to go out, we want to play rugby, and we want to showcase our club on the best level that we can, which is to go out and perform to what we believe is the best of our ability, and hopefully, prove no one wrong, but more prove to ourselves that we're doing the right things and the organization is moving in the correct direction, and we're just excited about that.
Yeah. And when's kickoff? Like when's the first game being played? When can we expect Super Rugby in Australia?
Super Rugby Australia kicks off on the 4th of July. So next week, not this coming weekend, the weekend after. Yeah, it's pretty nerve-wracking to find out that we're playing in just over 2 weeks. And we kick off on the 11th of July in Sydney against the New South Wales Warriors. So, like I said, each week and each training session, we just have to either park it and say, look, that wasn't good enough. We've only got one more session left, or we just say, okay, cool, that was a great session. Again, park that. What's the next session to do? So it's all about little gains, and then hopefully on the 11th of July, things start bubbling, and we get to play our first game, and we go from there.
Yeah, and aside from Marcel Brache, who do you think we should look out for, like stand out in the force side? Because we obviously haven't seen you guys play in a while. So
yeah. I think you can't look past some of the mainstays. Brainard Stander in the loose trio. Henry Stow was in the loose trio. Ian Pryor, our captain at 9, will certainly steer us around the field really well. Jack McGregor's a young Australian up-and-comer who, to me, reminds me a lot of Damien McKenzie. Small in stature, but massive courage, and punches well above his weight. Brad Lacey on the wing. There's plenty of guys that as the weeks go by, hopefully they become a bit more recognizable to the public, not only domestically but obviously for, as you mentioned, internationally, and people start to realize that there's some good talent that's been nurtured on the west side of Australia.
Awesome. And then could you chat us through your journey to the top? And I say the top because you've gone from province to Stormers to Forced, and then all the way captain USA. You went to the World Cup, so you've had quite a remarkable career. Can you chat us through your journey, and then can you identify, reflecting now, on some of a key event or game or conversation you had that you can pinpoint as like a massive step into where you are today?
Yeah, so it sort of started with me in a low, if that makes sense. So I was, I went on a gap year after school and came back, and for a few years sort of lost my way a little bit. You come from a gap year, and you suddenly think that you're independent. You think that you know it all, and you think that you know exactly what's what in terms of how to become an adult.
Which was the same boat at the moment, I think.
I think you've got your head on pretty square in my view, buddy. But you have an understanding that this is the way the world is, and I get it, and I can just go cruise through. Whereas when you look back on it, you think to yourself, wow, I was in a destructive mode in my life. And I was I was a student at University of Cape Town, and I sort of cruised through and wasn't really paying much attention to the things that really mattered. Which were my academics and my life outside of rugby. My relationships with my family, with my friends, it was all a bit toxic, really. That was all centered around my understanding of who I was and what my purpose was. And in all of that, I found the NADOES through touch games on the Sunday, and that was the beginning of me starting to find some semblance of purpose. Starting to sort of work through an idea of community and what it's like for you to have someone else's back. And, that went through for 2 years. And then at the end of the second year, at the end of 2009, I got a tap on the shoulder after, the end of the Corsair season. And, it was John Dobson asking if I wanted to be involved in the UCT preseason for the Varsity Cup.
Sure.
And without, you look back on life and you're very thankful for some individuals. And mine is one of my best mates and oldest mates, Wesley Chetty, who really Wes was part of the UCT setup for the previous 2 Varsity Cups. But, without Wes's guidance and motivation and perseverance to help a mate, get through each session, I honestly don't know where I'd be. Because, it was him, he'd pick me up, we'd go to gym, he would go for a bite to eat and come back. And at that stage, I sort of started building this fire inside of me that said, you know what, for the first time in a very, very long time, I have something that I want to work towards and strive towards. And I'd love to see this through, because for a lot of the things in my life, I hadn't really finished. I got to a point, I'd done well, and then I'd been, okay, cool, I'm done with that. But for this, you had to push right through. Anyway, so we made it through the Varsity Cup. Thankfully, we were involved in a great campaign, which unfortunately ended us up losing in Stellenbosch in the final. I then was invited to Western Province Currie Cup preseason, which was a dream in itself.
That's
I was
crazy.
A province fan from, as long as I can remember. And through that season, I made my debut. I had a horrific debut up at Ellis Park against Alton Janchi's inspired Lions team. And but it's sort of just, it made me look back. After the end of the season, I got offered a contract with the Western Province and the Stormers, and it was a bit too much almost to me to be like, wow, look back on where you were a year ago and where you are now. And then I sort of just got into this mode where I was just like, cool, let me just take it as it comes, but not really seizing, too many opportunities, sort of just happy to be there again and cruising. And at the end of each season, I'd come to a point where I need to perform. And then, things would kick in. I'd get an opportunity. I'd play well. I'd get another contract extension. And then at the end of 2012, I had neck surgery.
Sure.
And at the end of that season, I was sort of in between contracts, and I wasn't looking like I was maybe going to leave province. I was quite keen, but Kevin Foote, who was the assistant coach of the Force, gave me a call, and he invited me over to the Force in Perth. And after speaking with family and mates, you just can't think of a better experience than to actually go out and try a new country, a new game, or game in the sense of what the system's like and what that. And so I took it with both hands, and I thought I'd come over for 2 years, and before you know it, it's been 7.
And here we are.
And within that time, I've been very lucky to have, met my now wife, been capped by the Eagles, the USA Eagles.
Yeah.
Captained the Force, captained the USA Eagles, gone to a World Cup, and had a young baby boy. So it's in a long story short, it's just been an incredible journey, which, in my view, I think the word lucky is thrown around quite blasé, but I do feel very lucky in this regard, because there are players that I believe are way better than me, are probably more committed than me, do the basics better than me, but maybe didn't have that platform or that opportunity to showcase their abilities. And that's what drives me today, compared to that young, naive 21-year-old who first started. Was every single day is a real opportunity for you to go out and prove yourself right, that you are meant to be there, and to actually just give thanks to the people that always believed in you, even during the tough times. So it's you just so grateful, and I definitely am, for the life that I've been able to lead with rugby, being the spirit of that.
It's crazy, actually. Like you say, the people that believed in you. I see it quite often, and even like in myself, sometimes, you like so many people believe in you, but then there's actually like in yourself, you like you always have that like doubt in your mind, like, am I like, do I have it in me? And then other people are so like, come on, like you got it in you, which is weird. I don't know why people are like that. It's crazy.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, it's something that I heard in a podcast the other day, is that a lot of people have optimism, which optimism is backed by statistics and research, whereas hope is something that is an essence and a feeling, and that hope is a lot of what people see in a person, and that
yeah,
understanding of, people are always going to have hope for you, sort of drives you to feel grateful for
yeah,
that belief, and it drives you on, because it doesn't matter who you are, whether you're the best athlete in the world or the most average athlete. We're all going to deal with self-esteem issues, or
yeah,
thinking we're not good enough at a point. It's how we write that narrative for ourselves, and
yeah,
to believe that us being there already is just, it's a win for us anyway. So
yeah.
yeah, it's taken a while, but I certainly still struggle with those same self-esteem issues on a daily basis. And
Mm.
it's all about just finding the good,
Yeah,
and taking what best suits you.
yeah. I was what so obviously Tom Dawson Squibby. That's actually my first guest,
Mm.
but he did a thing on his Instagram where he spoke to Bob Skinstad, and he was just like, "How do you like manage with the crap days or whatever?" And Bob was just like, "Well, you just got to take the day as it comes. Like if it's a cuck day, it's a cuck day. Like just
Yeah,
tomorrow will be better." So I think that's quite a cool way to look at it.
yeah, definitely. I think Bobby's got hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah. And then what was it like captain in the USA? Like, because you weren't exactly like the captain, right? So your captain was injured, if I'm correct. So how did you walk into that environment? So you obviously would have been like in the leadership group, but did you get guys to have a big buy into you as a captain, or was it like a different feeling walking in as actual captain? If you get what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. It's as I think with the way, the style of leadership that I needed to showcase was something that was essentially something that spoke to my personality. I couldn't try and be Blaine, who's our USA captain. I had to be
Myself.
myself,
Yeah.
in that leadership role. And the way that I try to lead is through enjoyment of the game, and everyone having the responsibility that, although I may be speaking to the ref, or I
Yeah.
might be with the play callers in terms of working out whether or not we're going for the line out or the penalty for the polls. Now more than ever, that in this day and age, everyone has to take on their own responsibility and know their roles to the point
Yeah.
where they're their own captain for their game. And for that day, I just happen to have the armband on my arm.
Mm.
So I try to give quite a lot of confidence to players in making sure that they realize their own roles and responsibilities are so vital for the machine to work, in all 23 going forward. So yeah, I try to instill as much of my own personality as I could without trying to be someone else, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
When you're captaining your country, it's one of the greatest honors you can ever get. And you always need to remember that the players that are playing on that specific day will never be the same players that they are the following weekend. So
Yeah.
it's really important to really just nurture that, and try to speak to that, especially as a leader.
Mm.
And for however amount of time, it might be 80 minutes, it might be 2 minutes, it might be 2 years. So
Yeah.
each week is different, and I just try to instill my personality on for those specific games that I was captain.
Yeah. And then, so reflecting on your career now, can you pinpoint a game or a training session or something even outside of rugby where something went right? And then reflecting on that, can you kind of chat us through your mindset if you can identify one or two? Just yeah.
Yeah, sure. I think the game that um, I look back on quite fondly is my USA Eagles debut, and it was in November of 2016 against Tonga.
What a
And
debut.
yeah, it
Yo,
was it was
some
it was
sore
a
bodies.
tough day out. We just lost, but from a personal point of view, it was a big year for me. I played quite a lot of rugby, but on a day like that, uh, I think it's a great way to look. I had a great opportunity for myself to look at where I was, and now I was at pretty much the pinnacle point of uh, an athlete or an athlete in our sports career was to represent his or her country on the international stage. And I just wrote down a few things that I was grateful for, um, and a few things that I wanted to just pinpoint in terms of actual study or work that I wanted to get in that week. So there was a nice emotional side that was driving me, but also stuff that I could stay focused on and just go to when things started to get a little bit chaotic in the game. And we just lost that game, and it was a great way for me to look back on it because I didn't exactly play my greatest first half of rugby, but John Mitchell came to me at the halftime and he said, "Cool, sweet, that's the first 40 done. Guess what? You get to go out and showcase more of your own personality and yourself in the second half." And I just thought that was a great analogy for me to go out and be like, "Cool, that was that. Now we can just go play again and try showcase some of the things that my personality didn't get to show in the first half." And it was just a great way for me to look back on that game and just be like, sure, okay. From an emotional point of view, that was great because I've now reached such a great height. We lost the game, but I'm just super proud of where my mind was at because it could have been going 1,000 places, but I was able to can of first half and refocus on the second half. And although we lost, I thought we performed admirably that day. That was probably one of those games where things seemed to click mentally.
Did you write down what you were grateful for before the game?
So in the lead up to the game, I had a process of just writing my own narrative, if that makes sense, my own story in my diary, and I've done it for a few years now, and it's quite fun when you sometimes have a down moment. You can just go look back at games that you played years back, and you think, wow, that was cool, like, or wow, that didn't end up the way that I wanted it to. But just things that I was specifically grateful, people I was grateful for having in my life. And you think of different things. It's interesting to see where your mindset was on that particular day or that week leading up. And it just sort of it instills a little bit of the emotional side, but within a visual point of view where you can actually just say, "Okay, it's there. It's not just stuck in my head."
I've actually tried to do that now, like every morning. I mean, I've probably only done it twice, but I'm trying to do it. You write down literally like 5 things you're grateful for. And what I noticed is that so the first one was very like, like your standard, like family, like all that kind of stuff. And then like a couple ones on, you can't write family every day, So it's like you actually look for small things. Like the one for me was sunshine because it was like raining the whole week. And then it was sunny on that day, so I was like sunshine. I was like, actually, your focus actually shifts, which is cool. To like smaller things.
I know it's certainly something that people who meditate point towards a point of difference of where their focus can be, and really it centers them around what's important in their lives at that stage. And I think with your family thing, I think that. I don't think there's anything wrong with being grateful for family on a daily basis because I think it's the essence of who we are, So, it's really cool that you're doing that.
And then so this is like my favorite part of the podcast, the game of who is and why. So you're gonna dish a bit of dirt on your teammates if that's all right.
Okay, sweet, yeah.
Yeah, fine. Who is hard as nails?
Who's hard as nails? Nick Fenton Wells.
Okay.
Yeah,
And why?
Nick
Just
Fenton Wells.
able to take hits, or have
Um,
you been on the receiving
I,
end?
just able to watch him, and I saw Fats play plenty of times, and was always outweighed and outsized by every other loose forward. But my goodness, he wouldn't. It would drive him more than it would sort of intimidate him. That's for sure. And yeah, just always getting up last out of a ruck and being first to the next ruck. So it was. He certainly is someone who maybe didn't get the pun, the plaudits that he should have got, in my view. But hard as nails, and definitely one of the best guys out there.
And then who is the player's player? So like quality on a
Who's the
social, like everyone loves him.
yeah.
Can't say yourself,
Um,
obviously,
Chris Heiberg is well and truly one of the best out there. He's quite a quiet guy in some areas of the day, like when it comes to meetings and whatnot.
Yeah.
But once he's out the meeting, he's around the lads, and maybe he's had a couple of beers. Sure, you don't get much better. One of the funnier guys, good sing songs and whatnot. So yeah.
Yes, quality. Who's fined the most?
Here's one the most in our club. And at the Force?
In with anyone you've
just
played
all
with?
over?
Anyone you've played with?
Sure. Who is fined the most?
Or who's most likely to be fined the most?
Okay, yeah. More than likely, it's going to be Kieran Longbottom, our tight head. He's got a knack for just having something pop up and either being late for a meeting or late for a gym session. So he's unfortunate. We've got a spin the wheel system here in Perth, and K-Bomb just may as well keep that wheel spinning because it's not stopping anytime soon. So yeah.
Can you chat us through that spin the wheel system, or is it a club
Yeah.
secret?
So yeah, just general club stuff. Like it ranges each couple weeks, and like just some fun things around the club to do. Nothing too harsh.
Okay.
And it gets quite a good hoo-ha from the boys in the meeting. But
Love that.
obviously there's a standard, so you can only spin the wheel twice, and then then there's a tough conversation that has to be had after. So
Okay.
we do know that it can be fun in games until things are we're not going to make a hoo-ha out of someone spinning the wheel 16 times.
And then who is always late?
Same man, K-Bomb.
Hey man,
probably. Yeah.
sounds like a quality bloke. I'd love to have a beer with him.
You would actually. You would love it. He'll drink most human beings under the table or tugboat, but yeah, he's a great man.
And then who is the comedian?
Jonah Placid, by and away. Always, he's one of the fastest with the response and retort. It's actually, he's talented at it. Don't come at Bug unless you have enough ammunition with the words to go back and forth. Exactly. You've got to know exactly what's going on. Otherwise, he's just going to shoot you down, and he's going to shoot you down hard. So,
no, look, it's important to pick your battles.
Oh, jeepers. Yeah, that's why I sort of just keep my mouth shut around Bug. He can do whatever he wants almost. Yeah, otherwise, I'm out.
And then who is the kit man's nightmare?
The kit man's nightmare. Nick Juice has a problem with, we have these GPS bibs.
Yeah.
And Juicy always seems to forget his, and he's like just always looking for someone's spare bib, and can he borrow someone's bib or not? Geez, I'm dishing to it. But yeah, Juicy's probably the unfortunate man that I've chosen in this case.
Fair enough. And then who is on Orcs?
Jack McGregor. Jack McGregor's on the music front, and wow, I've obviously been around a long time when I'm sort of like hearing music that used to be played on like hits in the 90s are now popular tunes, and techno's back, and deep dark music that you wouldn't see until it's at least 5 a.m. in the morning somewhere. But so Jack's good on the aux cable and gets the boys going.
Well, what are you into? Are you into your techno?
Music? Nah, definitely not.
No, Sam.
Music
Okay, good. We
wise,
can get on. We can get
yeah,
on.
yeah. Music wise, I can't beat a little bit of '90s R&B and hip hop,
No, you can't.
and
That's
yeah,
probably
and
tough.
then
That's tough to beat.
yeah. So I keep that genre pretty much on repeat, and then weirdly enough, I'm a huge Red Hot Chili Peppers fan, so I'll throw maybe an album in here and
Quality.
there. So in
Yeah,
between those two, that's generally what's playing at
yeah.
its loudest.
Anything on boogie at boogies for me, you know. Uh,
Yeah.
and then, so it would be a disservice not to chat about USA Rugby and the Eagles.
Sure.
Because actually, I host my podcast through a hosting site, and throughout the 6 platforms it's on or whatever. Okay, bearing in mind I'm flying. I've got 33 listens so far, so I'm flying, yeah. and four
Okay,
and
that's better than 30. So
oh,
that
that's
means
the
you
thing,
are
yeah.
going exactly, yeah.
That's what I like to tell guys. And
Yeah.
actually, a third of those guys are from the USA, from
Oh, great.
Washington and Virginia. I
Okay.
think I'm not sure. I don't know the exact
Nice.
geography, and then New Jersey. So to those guys
Okay,
listening,
cool.
this one's for
Brilliant.
you.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome, guys.
What what is the rugby culture like in the US, and do you think it's been drowned out by like NFL? I saw that I forget the guy's name, but he tweeted that if I played rugby, I would.
Oh, Marquette King, yeah.
Yeah.
Marquette
So yeah,
King,
can you
yeah.
tell us to that and maybe your response?
Yeah, so the rugby culture in the US is very community driven.
Okay.
So you'll get um, rugby's played throughout the USA pretty much,
Oh,
but
awesome.
in small communities.
Okay.
So it's lots of volunteers. The kids um, are introduced to rugby at a latish age, around about high school. A lot of them pick it up in college as a extra sport from football in the off season.
Mm.
Um, and to be honest, the USA has a um, fantastic level of athlete. Some of
Yeah.
the best athletes I've ever seen in the world. In terms of sprinting in the gym. Power athletes. Because of their introduction to the weight room and the athletics track at such a young age. Where the US rugby needs to improve on though is that rugby IQ and skill level, which
Okay.
obviously every country in the world is working on being better. So it's about introducing the game at the youngest roots that you possibly can, and trying to not compete with the NFL, because in my view it's an unrealistic goal.
Yeah.
If you want to try and compete with the big 5 sports in the USA, then I think you're dreaming. You look at the MLS, the soccer league started up in 1994, and it's now 2020, and I think they're only looking at possibly breaking even for the first time in
Yo.
2026 with regards to the amount of money that they've spent
Jeez.
since then.
And they've
So,
spent, huh?
you know, and they've spent a hell of a lot of money.
Yeah.
So it's about understanding that rugby is a community-based sport, and if you keep the game fun and appropriate for the population that you're trying to show and introduce the game to, then it's always just going to be a popular community sport, which will then be able to increase skill level, increase numbers in high school, increase numbers then through college, and then provide a feeder system through to the professional league, which is the Major League Rugby system, which in my view is so important for young kids who are interested in rugby union to know that there is a pathway and there is actually a point where they don't have to go overseas and play professional rugby, but they can play it in their backyard and make it up and play for a professional side within the USA. So from that point, I think from Marquette King's point of view, I've never known the rugby community to bite so hard at something
I know.
in
I was
my
also so
entire life.
surprised.
It's actually it's hilarious. It's like knew exactly what
Yeah.
the responses were going to be, and
So
he
much
just
clout
was like,
from
he must be,
that.
yeah. I think he's probably just laughing on his couch, thinking this is just brilliant
Yeah.
because obviously I think he knows that there's no ways that he would dominate. I think he just
Yeah.
did it because he might have been a bit bored. Rugby unions showcasing throughout the world now is one of the major contact sports along with league. So it's awesome
Yeah.
for the American public to be able to be exposed to the game on that level, and good on him. I think he knows exactly what banter is, and he did it really well.
Yeah, I agree. And then even the All Blacks got involved. I was like, no, it's exactly
Yeah,
what he
yeah,
wants.
yeah,
Exactly
yeah.
what he wants.
Exactly. Free trip to New Zealand and to train with some of the best. I mean, and
Yeah.
have a laugh. So
Damn.
that's what I think. Who knows? Maybe Marquette wasn't actually taking this fun.
Yeah, no, I'm sure he was. And then speaking of rugby culture, what's it like in Oz at the moment? I know there's been some trouble with
Yeah.
the union there. What's it like?
Yeah, I think rugby union is obviously in a difficult place worldwide.
Yeah.
And specifically in Australia, the game is unfortunately um, at a crucial point where either the game um, needs to make specific changes at development levels that will then hopefully nurture and carry the game for the next 20 to 30 years, or it's unfortunately going to be lost, and everyone and the Wallabies are unfortunately just going to be club players that are then playing professionally for the Wallabies because
Yeah.
most of them are now moving to league. The thing with Australian rugby, and much like USA rugby, is that rugby union, which used to be one of the top 2 or 3 sports in this country, and would compete with AFL and rugby league, is now slipped, quite dramatically
Mm.
due to some decisions that have been made over the last couple of decades. But for me, it's more about what can I do within my reach, and our reach here in
Mm.
Perth is within the rugby community here in Perth. And I know that the rugby organisation, Western Force, and local community rugby WA are massive in terms of getting out to schools and teaching the game. We're quite a AFL dominated state, so it's important that
Okay.
if you can make a difference to any kid, or
Yeah.
um, lend a helping hand or suggestion to an aspiring young rugby player, that you go out and do that. So our community outreach here is really important to the survival of the game on the West Coast.
Mm.
And hopefully with the survival of each state, rugby in Australia can thrive once again one day. But as I said, decisions need to be made
Mm.
over the next couple of years in order to, maintain the survival of it. And hopefully this competition, the Super Rugby comp, will be one of the
Yeah, I think
steps in
that's.
terms of helping that.
And do you see yourself buying into that after rugby, buying into the promoting of the sport in Australia?
I think I've realized in the last 18 months to 2 years that rugby has given me so much that it would be very, this is just my thought.
Yeah, yeah.
It would be very selfish of me to just walk away from the game
Okay.
without giving something back.
Mm.
So my thoughts with regards to where my passions lie outside of the game have led me to pursue a teaching degree.
Oh, awesome.
And within teaching, coaching is also a fundamental part
Yeah.
of that. So those are the things that sort of run through your mind as you start getting into your early 30s to mid 30s in my case. And
Mm.
you start getting it starts with itchy feet, and then it starts getting a little more exciting to realize,
Yeah.
okay, cool, this is what I'd like to do. So I think we'll always be in touching reach of a rugby field, or a rugby team.
Yeah.
Just to say thanks to the game would be, for me to be able to at least try and instill some sort of passion or enjoyment in the game for the next generation.
Yeah. Awesome. And then, so just going back to the USA, what's it like playing under Gary Gold? He's been around for ages. He must be quite a remarkable guy
Yeah.
to chat to about rugby. Yeah.
Yeah. guy. I think, yeah, certainly someone that I think you'd enjoy speaking to. Gary is very well versed in the game. Played for many years and coached for even longer, and
Yeah.
some of the best teams in the world. And we were very lucky to have a guy whose passion matched his credentials, in terms of as a coach. Certainly someone that instilled a lot of belief in me, and in so doing, made me want to perform, to say thanks again. I think a lot of it's interesting. I don't know. A lot of these like modern day teams, you don't. I wonder how many players actually play for something more than just themselves or more than
Yeah.
just the team. How much. And I think Gary tried to reinvigorate that fire in USA Rugby and playing for the bigger picture and playing and inspiring the next generation. And
Yeah.
I certainly hope he gets to continue to lay those platforms and those foundations for USA Rugby, because he certainly was beginning to do that within his tenure, and hope and long may it continue.
Yeah. Awesome. So I put a Q&A on my story to play. So he asks,
Okay.
how did you find living in the US, and how are the people?
It's massive. The US
Yeah.
is a very, very big place. I think people the world over are all, inherently there's just good people all over.
Yeah.
Americans are very proud, and I think that pride sometimes gets misconstrued with a sense of obnoxious Americans. Which I never understand. If you're really proud to be from somewhere, I think that's more of a compliment more than something that you should be
Absolutely.
knocked for. So yeah, I think to the young man who's going over to the States, I think enjoy the experience. It's one of those experiences where you'll look back and be like, wow. I know Australians love going over to America because it's such a different experience. It's bigger and it's brighter. It might be a bit weirder in some places, but certainly an experience that you'll enjoy, and the people will certainly welcome you with open arms.
Awesome. And then another one from him is, what is the biggest difference between rugby in SA and rugby in the US?
Oh, just yeah, like I alluded to it a little bit earlier, was just rugby is. I mean, you breathe it in South Africa, don't you? I mean,
Can't get away from it.
you're pretty much you can't get it exactly. Every patch of grass that you drive around within, the Greater Western Cape, you're going to see at least one set of poles. Maybe some kids playing touch rugby here and there. Whereas in the States, it's going to be hard to find. Like I said, there's little communities within each city or state where you can find rugby. And because of that, the exposure to rugby is very either old school or, the rugby IQ is just not great, like big enough. So you're going to almost feel as though you could progress well beyond the levels of where you're at. So it's all about just being patient with it, just being patient with, the community and just trying to help and instill the knowledge of what you might know in South Africa could actually just benefit someone in an up and coming rugby community.
Absolutely. And then who was your favorite teacher at Bosch?
Favorite teacher at Bosch. In the primary school, Mr. Dennis Spammer was my grade 5 teacher.
Okay.
He was awesome. Really, really fantastic guy. He was also a coach of mine, which was great. At the high school, Mr. Joubert, Steve and Dirk Joubert.
Okay.
Mr. Dirk Joubert was my geography teacher and rugby coach, and Steve Joubert was my biology and cricket coach. And fantastic people, and Oh, and Mr. Pino. Obviously, Mr. Pino was awesome. Really, really, lovely guy. You understand. You understand how patient and present the teachers have to be once you slow down and you get out of that adolescent slash teenager years, and you start to look back and you think, wow,
No,
how
I
did they
know.
put up with so much nonsense? So, yeah, I don't know why it's driven me to want to be a teacher, but it's definitely something that it's testament to some of the great people that are teachers, and
Yeah,
I find that teachers are probably the greatest gift in terms of a service
absolutely.
to the community, is to
Yeah.
definitely instill and inspire
Mm.
us to be better and to be more than what we think we are.
And are you gonna look to teach in Oz, or are you gonna come back to SA and teach at Rondebosch?
Robbie, it's a bit of a complicated one. My
Okay.
wife is American,
Okay.
my son is Australian, and I am who I am. So
Yeah.
it's we'd love to work out a way where we, try and find time to spend in certain parts of our families' lives and
Yeah.
countries, and in so doing, teaching our young boy what the possibilities of life, that you could make a difference in one country and another, and
Okay.
learn
Cool.
about different cultures and
Mm.
possibilities. And South Africa is definitely high on that list, and so is the States. So it's something that we're working out currently, but at least with teaching, you're never too far from someone's life where you could possibly shape for the better. So
Yeah.
hopefully that becomes something that we're able to do in the future.
Yeah. And then where was your greatest rugby playing experience, and why the NADOES? I had so many NADOES questions. It was crazy.
That could be a different podcast for all the fun times that we had with the NATOs.
I was actually told to say Happy
Uh,
NADOES Day, so there we go. Happy
yeah, it
NADOES
is.
Day,
Yeah,
everyone.
Uchacha NATOs. Do you mean like any rugby playing experience, or just for like local, or
Yeah, I think
with the NATOs?
with the NADOES, yeah. I think with the NADOES.
We used to do a play tour quite often.
No way.
Years ago.
That
Yeah,
could have
so
been loose.
we would leave. We would go up and play the game on the Friday. Have a massive NATO's fine session, and then enjoy Plate
Obviously.
Rugby Club, and all that Plate has to offer for the Saturday, and drive home Sunday.
Wow.
Those are some memories and experiences with the NATOs that just one of the great all-round communities. I won't even call it a rugby club, because it's beyond that. It's a true community. I think of NATO's Ryder Cup weekends. The NATO's HBL, which was the Hermanus Premier League cricket weekend that we'd have. There'd be an auction. There'd be the cricket game played. It's like I said, we'd need another podcast, and certainly gentlemen who have instilled such a fantastic idea that the NATOs is more than just a rugby team. It really is a family.
Yeah.
Get them on and really have a good chat about some of those great experiences. Yeah, but and then sorry, with regards to NATOs on the rugby field, would have to be that great night in 2009 when we beat Ikaya in the final, and I think we beat them 50-0.
Sure.
And that was one of the best seasons that we had, and we had conceded one try throughout the whole season. So it was wild how things just culminated
Unreal.
in us to being able to do that. Yeah. So uchacha.
And then, could you have made it as a pro cricketer, and were there any genuine options?
Oh, that's such a it's
Marcel's quite a modest guy, so
in
he's gonna play it down. But I want the true answer. Yeah.
this coronavirus pandemic lockdown, the most watched thing I have on my YouTube are cricket highlights. It's
Unreal.
cricket highlights from years ago, cricket highlights of some of the best players in the nets. And
Virat
geez,
Kohli,
some
stop.
of my Google searches have been quite interesting. Like I'm Googling, how old do you have to be to change careers? Like, can you still make it as a cricket player at this age? But if I'm honest, cricket will always be my first love in terms of a sport.
Amen.
And I miss it thoroughly. Could I have made it as a cricketer? It's tough to say. The fact that I made it as a rugby player still shocks me. So like I think it'll be always one of those great things that I can say that cricket, it gave me what I needed, and I'm so grateful for the times that I played cricket. But yeah, to say that could I have gone on to be a pro cricket player is maybe a stretch. It was fun while I had it in my life, and I really loved it.
Well, come on, give some of the teams you played then, because I mean that wouldn't have been a question if you weren't a quality cricketer. I mean, I always tell guys I was a good cricketer, but I was an average second side player. So I mean, it's just me talking crap. But
yeah, I played. So I played for the Bosch first team for 3 years. I captained the first team in '05. Obviously, I went on my gap year, and then I came and I played for UCT Cricket Club for 2 seasons, and I played in the first team for those 2 seasons.
Okay.
And then obviously, as I spoke about in the first, with regards to one of the first questions, was just my mindset wasn't there. I just wasn't being a good human being for Marcel Brache, and unfortunately, cricket slipped away. But I was one of the fortunate ones where one opportunity slipped, but another popped up. So so that's awesome. Cricket. That's my cricket stretch.
Cricket career. Marcel, thanks so much for coming on. I really, really have enjoyed chatting to you. What an awesome chat. Like, honestly, when I posted on my story, I had like 12 people saying like, "Oh, he's such a legend! Like, can't wait." and yeah, it truly is true. So thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate it, and all the best for Super Rugby Australia. I'm certainly going to be watching.
Thanks, Robbie. I appreciate it. I think what you're doing is really, really cool, and awesome. I wish you all the best with it. You've got a great personality. I think you're gonna do great things for if this is the type of thing that you'd like to do in the future.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks for the support. Yeah, hopefully we can go turn some heads in the Super Rugby comp.
I'm sure you will. Yeah. Thanks, Marcel.
Yeah, sweet. Cheers, bro.
Cheers. Ucha-cha.